shut up. Shut up.
What's the matter with you?
Michael Reynold is a poet, an artist, a photographer,
3055.
and a really nice guy. Everyone, please welcome today's feature, Michael Reynold.
I may as well start the set, eh?
Hey!
Yeah, I'll start with a piece that's the title poem for my chapbook, which came out 10 years ago. I can't believe it, 10 years. Upon finding a chair in the forest, there is nobody else around, but you look about, for here is proof somebody has been before. Curiosity and amusement draw you to the metal and plastic chair, placed there by no one for everyone. And you think of the crowded train, the one seat remaining, surely not for you. But your quick search confirms who the chair is for. It is yours, but only if you feel comfortable. That one was actually inspired by a photograph on a poetry website, and it was in a section called Poetic Inspiration. And this one here is actually from the same thing. This one was inspired by a photograph of a burnt-out building. It was a childcare centre, and pretty much most of the things in the photograph were blackened by fire, and it made me think about looking at photos of bushland or a forest after a fire. And the first thing you look at, or what you look for in these photos, is the first sign of green. So I looked for green in this particular photo and found a little bit. So it's called After the Fire. The baling twine, suture for broken things, stops the barrier net from leaning further. A precarious defence. Fireline, keep out. Bright yellow snatches attention. A notice to take no notice. Thoughts turn to rebuilding, not if, but when and how long, as replacement and regrowth after a bushfire. The first green foliage diminishing blackness with optimism. The baling twine, first sign of repair, perennial, adaptable, ugly, hasty hero, gives me hope.
Yay!
Next poem is was actually it was quite an emotional one for me to write, and there's been a few times when I actually haven't been able to finish this particular poem, and so I'll do my best with it now. And it's about my aunt who had she became pregnant in her late teens, and her daughter was forcibly adopted by the authorities and by her parents. So this is about my aunt seeing her as a 5-year-old at Christmas time and wondering why she was like she was at Christmas. It's called Denise. Just before dinner and in between courses, Auntie Denise used to stand away from the table, arms folded, looking at the floor. She didn't purse her lips, just the corners of her mouth. But I had the impression they ached from trying not to. The rest of the family at the table, some standing, some seated, as us small ones were. A row of eyes and ears, not understanding many of the jokes, but absorbing the jocularity and happy it was another Christmas. Christmas was a drive to Ballarat to my grandparents. Ballarat will always be my grandparents. It was old, like they were. And the finest dinners ever made came from Grandma's wood fire stove. To a little boy's eyes, Ballarat has been there forever and always will. And my grandparents' house in Sebastopol was centre of the town. Everyone was happy, except, so it seemed, Denise. Nobody else noticed her there, or at least nobody commented. When she wasn't helping with crockery or food, which everyone had to be seated to be served, she would step back and become invisible. I should smile and give a small laugh when the atmosphere called upon her to do so. But when attention centred on the table, she'd make her lower lip bigger. But not by pouting. There was nothing petulant in her expression. The upper lip and corners of the mouth would simply become smaller. I've seen the rest of my family do this in times of deep private thought, I suppose. No, I know I do it too. But what I saw was sadness and a sense of either not belonging or not deserving to belong. We children were on a bench seat against a wall, up to half a dozen of us lining one side of the table. For me to leave the table, I'd need to clamber over my brothers, my cousins, and avoid the outstretched hand of my father swiping as he'd say, "Sit down." I dared not do this, but I wanted to. I wanted to run the gauntlet of my brothers' and cousins' protestations and my father's hand to hug my Auntie Denise and ask her to sit next to me. I wish I had. It's time now to make an ant trail of people and whatever else out onto the park next door. Now, before everyone races out there, the old saying goes, if you can't see the camera can't see you. But there is something else. You can also see the camera if you're just a pair of eyes peeking over the top of someone's head. So please try to make sure that your face will be seen in the group photo. Every single person who is in this room ought to be in the photo, not just the performers, the people in the poetry community. That is what the photo is all about. So see you out there very shortly.
How'd you go with your Christmas? Who's that, by the way?